This episode of the Sloopcast is brought to you by the Mad Canadian Barbecue Company. Mad Canadian Barbecue Company is an Ohio-based company where they usually say our seasoning will take your barbecue from good to great. Great seasonings such as the Discord, the Sonoran Heat, the Smoked, and the Mad Hatter. You can't go wrong with any of the great seasonings over at the Mad Canadian BBQ.com. That is the Mad Canadian BBQ.com. Be sure to use the promo code 1year20, that is one spelled out, ONEYEAR 20 at checkout for 20% off. This promo code expires at the end of October. But don't worry, if you miss out, you can still get 10% off by using the promo code Sloopcast10. Be sure to check out the Mad Canadian social medias to check out where he is heading this weekend. Mad Canadian Barbecue Company, where they have your butt covered.
This episode of the Sloopcast also brought to you by the Iron Bean Coffee Company. The Iron Bean Coffee Company is a premium, small batch, roast-to-order, veteran-owned coffee company. Maybe the first thing you notice is the prices are a bit higher than you might expect. Well, I want you to know that 1, you get free shipping for any order over $50. 2, you're supporting veterans. 3, all the coffee is fair trade certified and USDA organic. And again, they're all roast to order. I think that's incredibly important. These beans haven't been sitting on the shelf at the grocery store for months. They haven't been sitting in a bin somewhere for weeks. You order it, then it's roasted. And that's the sort of freshness that you can't get most other places. So you get all of that. You get an intense selection of I almost said beers, of coffees, like the Ride or Die, the Cast Iron. Those are 2 really nice medium roast ones. Or there is the Drink from the Skull of Your Enemy, which is a dark, and a Fear No Evil, which is dark. And I'll tell you a little bit more about those coffees in the next ad break. But for right now, just know that you can find all of this and a lot more at ironbeancoffee.com, America's local coffee roaster. What's up, YouTube?
Howdy, howdy.
Are you drinking tonight, Kyle?
I am not drinking tonight.
Yeah. It's your turn to feel a little under the weather.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm drinking, but I'm gonna go label this way because no one's sponsoring us right now. No, I'm kidding. It's a Wolf's Ridge. We still got loves for Wolf's Ridge. They're not sponsoring us right this second, but and you know they're not sponsoring us because I just showed you a beer that you can't even buy right now. I think the Oktoberfest is officially out of season, so you know they're not sponsoring us. Still got love. Still keep the bottle right there.
Yes.
All right. Let's go ahead and return to our audio only listeners. We've got barbecue back here. You're all invited. Welcome to the Sloopcast. How are you doing today, Kyle?
Doing all right here. How are you today, Jared?
I feel like during the section of the show where we talk just to our YouTube people, I stuck a can of beer into the camera, and I feel like it's not focusing back on me, so I'm a little preoccupied with that at the moment. I think it's better now. So that's my big drama for the moment. How are you doing?
I'm all right. We've got a lot to talk over in this episode here. We got some Black Stripe news, some injury updates, some upcoming game times, and COVID news.
Oh, our favorite.
Yes, our favorite, everybody's favorite.
Everyone's favorite. All right,
let's talk about Black Stripes.
Yes, let's
talk about the Black Stripes. The slobs, Jared. We have a pair of slobs with their black stripes removed.
They might be slobs, but they have some great names.
Yes.
Very, very like sophisticated pinky out sort of names.
As Jared takes a sip there.
Yeah. We have offensive lineman Trey LaRue. We have there's a good deal of between our offensive slobs and our defensive slobs, well represented with the French last names.
Yes.
Yeah. And then we have Grant Taltant, which again sounds very, aristocracy.
Yes.
Taltant.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like a house from Game of Thrones, I think is what I'm trying to say.
House Taltant.
Doesn't it?
Does, yes.
Yeah.
We have a tight end also. The
Joe
year of the
Royer.
tight end.
Every year's the year of the tight end until it isn't.
Yep, Joe Royer.
Yep, and defensive end Darian Henry.
Yes.
So that's your black stripe update. I don't have a good counter going for the moment, but I think we're getting close to all of them.
I think so. I think there's just a few left. Not many.
But who are a little bit more concerned about right now is Chris Olave. Chris Olave leaves. They haven't officially used. I was going to say something. I'm not going to say that. They haven't officially used the concussion word yet, so we aren't officially calling it a concussion. Ryan Day. One of the things that you'll notice from the Ryan Day era, from the Urban Meyer era, Ryan Day's far more secretive with injury updates and injury news. So if he doesn't have to talk about it, he's not gonna. But essentially, we are sort of playing it by ear officially with Chris Olave, with what may or may not, but was absolutely a concussion. Rumor has it that he is likely to play, that he was participating in a non-contact fashion in practice this week. And that's as we record this. As the days go on, because we record this on Wednesday night, most of you won't hear it until Friday, unless of course you're a patron, in which case you can hear it on Thursday. But most people aren't hearing, most people aren't hearing this until Friday. So at this point, we don't know that he has practiced in a contact fashion yet. But officially, we don't know anything. From an official standpoint, we know nothing.
No, he took a pair of hard hits.
Yeah.
Last weekend, so.
The second one being, well, the first one wasn't necessarily a head hit. It was more of a full body hit. But
it was a big hit.
Yeah.
It was a big hit.
But the second one was bad.
Oh, yeah. All right. Time. We have a time set for the Rutgers game, which will be next weekend. It is scheduled to a 7:30 kickoff, Jared?
Yeah. Let me do the math on this. Some people might be like, what? Ohio State Rutgers in prime time? Let me explain.
The Big Ten Network.
Let me explain to you why this makes sense. The Big Ten Network, especially with this shortened schedule that we're working under, and as we see what's happening in Wisconsin right now, might be even shorter than shortened. How often does the Big Ten Network this season gonna have an opportunity to play an Ohio State game? This might be one of two, maybe. So if maybe this is the only opportunity that the Big Ten Network has to put Ohio State on this channel, so you're damn right they're gonna put it in prime time. So how does Ohio State Rutgers make it into prime time? That's how.
Yeah. Yep. Makes sense.
So I was alluding to Wisconsin there. Right after we recorded earlier this week's episode, the Monday episode, news comes out that Mertz, the new quarterback at Wisconsin, has COVID. So then we also sort of sat back and waited because that was the rapid test, and the rapid test isn't as good as the standard test. So before he got suspended is the only word I can think of. That's not quite the right word, but got sat down for 3 weeks. So in case the rapid test is a false positive, we do the standard test. We wait for the standard test. Standard test comes back, and he does in fact have COVID-19. But then we hear, as of Wednesday, that it's not just him, that apparently there are 12 people in total in the Wisconsin football program This includes 6 student athletes and 6 staff members, including Paul Chryst, the head coach. So there is no Wisconsin-Nebraska game this weekend.
Nope. And we'll just input here a hashtag fire Kevin Warren here, because if we have the original schedule, we would have had weeks off to make up this game. But nope.
No.
This game is going to be now a non-contest, which is one less game for both of these teams now.
Yep.
Which is just terrible.
Yeah, there's no opportunity to reschedule this because the schedule no longer allows for it, because Kevin Warren mishandled everything about this year. That's the summation of it.
Ridiculous.
And I've heard stuff that maybe the Big Ten is going to revisit the 21-day rule, because why?
They should, because the CDC, their recommendation is 10 to 14 days. Why go the extra week? Like, are you trying to prove a point or something? Like, hey, we're the Big Ten. We're going to do a step above. And it's like, no, it's
either the Big Ten trying to prove a point, which it very well could be that.
And it's failed miserably recently.
Or it could be, and the official reason they did it is concern over the heart swelling, which we're now to the point where the heart swelling is now known to be such an extreme rarity that basically it's been recommended by the medical establishment that we please stop doing these tests. Because the idea that it's possible, we only have so many beds and so many doctors to do these tests, that basically the medical establishment is saying, please stop sending us people to test the heart just because they got COVID. This is such an extremely rare case. So the official reason for the 21 days was to monitor potential heart swelling. But we now know that it's nonsense.
Yes.
It was well-intentioned. People were concerned about it. It's a disease we didn't know a lot about at the time that we were concerned about it. We know more about it now. The heart swelling's not an issue. So this 21 days is ludicrous. Let's make it 14 games. Let's make it 2 games. 14 days, 2 games. You know what I'm attempting to say here, everybody. And I've heard that the Big Ten might revisit it, but even if they do, how quickly will they do that? And we all know that the Big Ten does nothing quickly.
Nope.
Except cancel the season out of the blue. They did that real quickly. All right, that's enough. Right, I don't want to talk anymore. Yeah, I'm done. Done with the COVIDs.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's move on before we get even more upset here.
We're only doing 6 Sloop picks this week, and that's why. We normally do 7. This week it's only 6. We had this game on the Sloop pick schedule, and it got canceled.
We'll still say who we would have picked.
Yeah, why not?
For shits and giggles.
Shits and giggles.
Yes. All right, let's get into Deciphering Day here, Jared.
Yeah.
All right. Day starts off saying that regarding to Chris Olave, they will move some things around if Chris Olave can't go, and they will, quote, see as the week goes on and how it goes. It just pretty much Day just saying
it's what we call a no update.
Yes.
That's you saying, hey everyone, I have an update. There's no update.
Yep. One of the big concerns against the Nebraska game last weekend was the running backs. Day talks about the running backs were solid after looking at the film, which we wouldn't have thought when we looked at the game.
Well, I think we pretty much said on the Monday episode that the issues we saw was with the line and not the running backs.
They said they got better as the game went on, which true.
Yeah.
Early on, it was just okay. They will work hard to taking the next step in game 2. The scout team just can't exactly replicate what you actually face. Going against different looks during games helps. And then when you have the 2 quarterback rotation that we saw with Nebraska, that didn't really help out either on the defensive side.
Yeah. He was talking about on the
Yes,
for the offensive players, which was why you threw me for a second. But yeah.
Goes on to talk about the offense here. Pass protection was excellent, which we mentioned before, including the running backs. They have a lot of long developing pass plays, which require extended blocking, which we've seen too.
Yeah, that's one of the things I think maybe fans aren't always super aware of, that if you want to, man, I wish they'd throw the ball downfield more. Man, why don't they throw the ball downfield more? Well, one of the reasons why you don't see teams throw the ball downfield more is because it exposes your quarterbacks to more hits. Mm-hmm. Because for the receivers to get downfield, your quarterback's just going to hold the ball a bit longer.
Yep. Probably the biggest concern here that I think Buckeye Nation is really curious about how Ohio State's going to clean up is defending the quarterback run. As we mentioned in last Monday's episode about Ohio State going to be facing multiple running quarterbacks this year. It talks about how defending the quarterback run. He said it was solid overall for the Buckeyes. He said the quarterback scramble was a mistake on a stunt by the defensive tackle. And he says, all it takes is one play. They have to clean it up. The consequences of practice in a game has to be felt. And all it takes is one guy in one play in any of those three phases to lose a game.
That's a great day, but you're lying. Defending the quarterback run was not solid. What did we just what was the total? Did we say it was like 160, 150 some yards?
Something like that.
Between the two quarterbacks rushing the ball?
Like 90 and 60 yards.
Something like no, Ryan Day. Defending the quarterback run was not solid.
Mm-hmm. And spoiler alert, there's another one coming up here this Saturday you got to worry about.
I'm not as
well. We'll get to it. We'll get to it.
We'll get there.
But Haskell Garrett was our photo or our picture for our episode here. Was Haskell here? Talks about Haskell Garrett, and he said he wasn't surprised of what he did because he knows what he's capable of. But he was impressed by the way Garrett played. If he can continue that, he could have a major impact at a position where everyone had their eyes on. Also talking about the defensive line here, he said losing for Penn State, that is, losing Micah Parsons and Journey Brown is certainly felt, and it's unfortunate. But you rally and move on, which Penn State is doing. You don't easily replace good players like that. And we'll cover that also here in the Know Your Enemy of who Ohio State should watch out on that defensive line.
Well, yeah, you have Micah Parsons, who sort of played a more move to linebacker. And then you have Journey Brown, who they lost at running back. And now they lost both of them just to the draft, them opting out. And then you have Oweh Toney, who was a running back Ohio State wanted very much. He is now injured and isn't going to be playing. So between opt-outs and injuries, Penn State is already losing a fair amount of talent.
Yes. All right. Probably the most dangerous player on offense for Penn State talks about Pat Freiermuth.
Freiermuth. Say it with me now, Kyle.
Yeah, Freiermuth.
Okay, we'll just have to accept.
He is a mismatch in both the running game and passing game. Has great ball skills. Definitely going to be one of the top tight ends to be drafted.
Yeah, Ohio State has had issues in the past, most notably against Iowa, defending big talented tight ends. So we'll see. I think, Iowa is officially a long time ago at this point. Ohio State has played against really good tight ends since. I don't think we need to continue to throw up the panic flag every time a huge tight end is in play. But that being said, Pat Freiermuth is an incredibly talented player.
Yep. All right, moving on here. Ryan Day talks about Penn State having an excellent defensive end and Oweh and Toney. Says their scheme is just really solid. They don't give you big plays. They play really good zone defense and have good blitzes. You have to handle the pressure, or else they'll just keep coming at you. All right, last comment here from Ryan.
Incredibly talented Jason Oweh is another guy that Ohio State wanted a lot. This is a guy that would be a starting defensive end on Ohio State right now. No doubt in my mind.
Yep. Last thing here about Marcus Hooker. He mentioned that he was solid after the first drive and is only going to get better with more experience. Says, quote, he's an integral part of our defense and he's going to have to be solid for us. It was a good start.
Yeah, you have young safeties in there, inexperienced safeties in there. And like a lot of the players on the Ohio State defense and in the Ohio State secondary, young and inexperienced, some mixture of those two things. So, patience, I think is what we're saying here, and give them a chance to get better. And I think that's sort of where we are with Hooker at the moment.
Mm-hmm. All right. Anything else regarding to Ryan Day?
Nope. Let's do our Sloop picks.
Right.
Kyle, we have 6 games. Six games.
Just like last week.
6 games.
All right. We have, first off here, we have Minnesota taking on Maryland.
Full disclosure, this game, the only reason this game we're even picking it is because it's the Friday game. And I remember sitting there watching the Friday game last week thinking, I should have made this a slow pick.
All right. Minnesota.
Yeah.
The Golden Gophers are a 20.5-point favorite.
Yeah.
Who do you have, Jared?
Minnesota, 20.5-point favorite. Minnesota disappoints in their first week out. They were missing a bunch of players. I don't necessarily know if or how many of those players they're getting back for this week. That being said, it's Maryland. So, it's Maryland. So screw it, give me Minnesota.
Yeah, I got Minnesota
just because it's Maryland.
I got Minnesota as well. As you mentioned, Minnesota was out with quite a few key players. And they were right there with Wisconsin until the end, until the end of the game. I really think that
Michigan.
Thank you, Michigan. Right there with Michigan until towards the end. So I really think that Minnesota is just going to overpower Maryland.
Also, no,
I'll take the points here.
I think you're just a little bit confused at the second.
I don't know, man. Those northern teams. Those northern teams, I tell you.
Okay.
All right.
Kyle, just shake that one off, buddy. Shake that one off. Oh.
All right.
Oh. That sounded nasty.
All right. This week's picker is Brawley.
Sean Brawlsack Brawley.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. He says here he picks Maryland to cover. He said, this is the hardest one for me. Is Minnesota worse than we thought? Is Michigan better than we thought? Will Minnesota have a punter or a kicker for this game? So many unknowns. Maybe surprising, but I'm taking the points. Give me Maryland to lose, but cover.
So he's going opposite of us there, which probably means that we're wrong.
Yes. All right. Next up here, we have Boston College taking on Clemson. Clemson is a 31.5-point favorite. And I think it's not going to be even close. I have Clemson to cover here. From what I've seen with Boston College right now, it just not enough talent to keep up with Clemson there.
Of course not. No. Boston College is going to lose.
Yeah, they're going to lose by more than 30 points.
I don't think so.
All right, well, we'll differ here.
We've seen Clemson struggle against Syracuse. And not that they were ever in a position to lose, don't get me wrong. We saw them underperform against Virginia. We've seen this Clemson team just sort of play down to their opponents at times. And Boston College has looked good. They creamed Georgia Tech. They got creamed by Virginia Tech. They took Pitt to overtime, and they were a 2-point conversion away from taking the Tar Heels to overtime. Jeff Hafley has this team moving in the correct direction. They aren't going to win this game. This game's not going to be competitive. But Jeff Hafley has this team moving in the right direction. Clemson has a tendency to play down to their opponents. 31's a giant number. Give me Boston College. It'll probably be like 21, 24.
All right. Brawley says here, Hafley was responsible for one of the most impressive improvements of a defense unit ever seen at Ohio State. He may not have Ohio State talent, but I am taking his defense powers in taking Boston College to lose by less than 31.
See? I got the power of Brawley on my side.
All right. Next up here, we have Memphis taking on Cincinnati.
Yeah, Memphis was Cincinnati's kryptonite last year. Cincinnati was really good. Went into their final game, which was against Memphis, undefeated last year. They lost to Memphis. They faced Memphis again the next week in the American Conference Championship game and lost again. This year, they're coming into this game with the points on their side. Memphis lost a lot of talent. I think Cincinnati is really good this year. And I think that Memphis lost a lot of talent. I'm going to take Cincinnati, and I'm going to take them with the points. I definitely like them to win. I think 6.5 is kind of a perfect number. I'd be a lot happier if it was 3.5, 4.5. But I'm still going to take them at 6.5.
7.5 would have been tough, but
7.5 would have been enough to tip me, I think.
Yeah. I got Cincinnati. Cincinnati covering is favored by 6.5 here. I got Cincinnati. I just love Cincinnati's defense right now. Just their attitude defensively here. Watch out for Cincinnati here to really push to potentially, if all goes accordingly to how they want, where if these other Power 5 conferences where they have multiple teams with multiple losses, watch out for the Bearcats here.
Well, real quick, let's take a look at Cincinnati. Last week against a ranked SMU, they won by 29 points.
Yes.
Against a solid American team in USF, won by 21 points. Against Army, 14 points. That's Austin Peay. We don't need to talk about what they did against Austin Peay. Point is that they've not yet won by less than 6.5 points.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I think that they've played better teams than Memphis this year. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the Fighting Fickles for sure.
All right. Brawley says he is taking Cincinnati to cover. 2020 is a new year, and Cincy is beating Memphis after 2 losses to them last year. Cincy looks too good, and Memphis lost too much talent from last year. Give me Cincy to cover. All right. Next up, we have SEC matchup here. Georgia taking on Kentucky. Georgia is a 13.5 point favorite.
13? 14.
14.5.
There you go.
It is 14.5. You are right. 14.5 point favorite, and it doesn't matter. I'd still pick Georgia.
Yeah, essentially. I think this is one of my easier picks so far. If you look at Georgia, with all of the games they've played outside of Alabama, and Alabama's just on another stratosphere.
Mm-hmm.
They win by over 20 against Tennessee, win by over 20 against Auburn, win by over 20 against Arkansas. I don't think that Kentucky is significantly better than any of the teams they're significantly better. Well, maybe not than Arkansas. They did beat the crap out of Tennessee, so maybe they're significantly better than Tennessee.
Maybe.
But they also lost to Auburn. So it's sort of a wheel of suck going on in the SEC right now. Point is that when the Bulldogs are better, they're better. And I think that they're a lot better talent-wise than Kentucky. I think I'll be regretting this pick right up until the fourth quarter where Georgia runs the score up at the end. And it ends up looking like a much more comfortable win for Georgia than it ends up actually being. And I think I'll cover like that. I think I'll cover in the fourth quarter. Give me Georgia.
Yep. All right, Brawley says he's picked Georgia. He goes, Kentucky? Psh, give me Georgia to cover.
Yeah, what he said.
All right. We did have Wisconsin, Nebraska. We're not going to go too depth in here, but no. Wisconsin was a 7.5. I would have picked Wisconsin to cover. Brawley picked Wisconsin to cover.
We didn't know
about Mertz, correct?
Yeah, and that's the big thing for me. If Mertz, absolutely, I take 7.5 points. Without Mertz,
I'd still take 7.5.
You're talking about a third string quarterback at a place like Wisconsin. It's different if it's a third string quarterback at a pro factory, Clemson, Ohio State, Alabama, even Georgia, or a bunch of other who would have played quarterback for for Wisconsin this week. I have no idea.
Yeah.
That would have been tough.
Yep. All right.
Glad I don't have to do it.
Yes. Moving on. Texas taking on Oklahoma State, where the Cowboys are a 3.5 point favorite. And I got the Cowboys here. I think it'll be close. It's that 3 number right there. The 3, the field goal is really hard for me. I think this was the toughest decision for me because I think it's going to be a really close game. It's going to be a good old Big 12 shootout here, and it's going to come down to that last possession. But I'll just take Oklahoma State here because I think they'll win, and that's why I picked them to cover because 3.5 is almost to that point where whoever scores last would win.
I agree with most of what you just said. Here's where I disagree. You said you think Oklahoma State will win, and I don't think that. I don't think that they're going to lose. I think I'm just not buying into Oklahoma State. And maybe I'm being stubborn. I don't know, but I'm not buying into Oklahoma State. I'm not going to do it.
And I'm not buying into Texas.
My point is that I don't know that Oklahoma State is better than Texas. I think like this game from a pure who wins standpoint is a pick'em. In my opinion, this is a pure pick'em. Therefore, give me the underdog. Therefore, give me Texas.
All right. Brawley picks Texas to cover. He says, this is my, hopefully Jared picks Oklahoma State and Texas pulls off the upset pick.
Ha ha!
I don't think Texas will win or cover, but hey, it's 2020, so why not?
Yeah, right. This is such a toss up to me that I'm just going with the underdog.
All right. Last game here. We got the Fighting Buckeyes taking on not their rivals, Penn State. Ohio State is a 13.5 point favorite. This game is on ABC, so it is Kirk and the Gang at 7:30.
Kyle.
Yes, Jared.
Did you say Kirk and the Gang?
I believe I did the second time.
Did you say ABC?
Yep.
Did you say Ohio State?
Mm-hmm.
Did you say Penn State?
Perhaps.
Did you say Happy Valley?
No, I did not.
No, you didn't.
Because it's not going to be so happy.
Did you say Whiteout?
No, I did not.
No, you didn't. Well, regardless, You know what time it is?
Yes, I do. It is time to know your enemy.
Brief YouTube break. YouTube, I'm out of beer. Someone go get me a beer.
Cough.
Cough. YouTube wants to hear you cough. They want this insider stuff.
Oh.
All right.
All right.
I'm gonna rejoin the audio listeners. Know your enemy, the Penn State Nittany Lions. Kyle, I feel like we ask this question every year, but I'm gonna ask it again anyway. What the hell's a Nittany?
Nittany is not even a word.
It's not. I actually looked it up this year. I don't know if I've ever done this before.
We did last year.
I don't ever remember what we do. It might be, no one's sure. It might be a Native American word for like a single mountain, I believe. I think is like, so like it's maybe a peak. I don't know. No one knows. That's the thing. No one knows. There are theories. That's about it. So as far as I'm concerned, it's a made up word.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I mean, I guess all
it's a
words.
Cat. It's a cat.
I guess all words are made up words.
But
the point is I think that they're mountain lions. I think is what we're trying to say here is that it's a mountain lion. It's a bobcat. They're basically OU.
Yep. You got a nut taking on a cat.
It's a lynx. We have a bunch of different words for bobcat.
Penn State coming into this game. Penn State coming into this game 0-1.
Before you get too deep into it, now we've had our Nittany discussion, we've had our bobcat discussion. Now it's time to have a conversation about coffee.
Yes, you are right. Thank you.
Kyle's excited. He wanted to really get into it, but
all right.
Maybe he's had too much coffee.
Yeah, let's hear from Iron Bean Coffee Company.
Yeah, I said I'd talk about a few of their roasts. I said that they have a roast called the Cast Iron. It's a medium roast. It is made from 100% single origin Honduran Arabica beans. That comes from a single source. It comes from a single farm. That's not a mixed bag. That's a single source going to a single farm. They know exactly where those beans are coming from. There's the Integrity Roast. This is their flagship dark roast at Iron Bean Coffee. It's a mainstay of the Iron Bean selection, dark roasted, and makes a great espresso. I believe they have that one in K-Cups. They have their more popular items in K-Cups, but not their full selection. Let's see. I did a medium roast. I did a dark roast. We can talk about the Loki, named after the Nordic god of mischief. Not just a comic book character, you guys. Come on. Not just a comic book character. It's the Nordic god of mischief. Beer's getting to me. This is a wet process blend. It is higher in caffeine, lower in acidity, rich tasting, and filled with fragrance. Citrus and floral are the dominant taste in this blend. They have a huge selection of coffee. If you like flavored coffee, they have a carrot cake, a blueberry, and a mint chocolate chip, if that's your sort of thing. But like I said, they have a huge selection of coffees. You're probably just going to want to go to ironbeancoffee.com and check it out for yourself. If you sign up for their emails, you get a discount code. If you have an order over $50, then you get free shipping. And they also have, I bought a sampler pack so that I can better discuss what I'm selling to you guys. Because I've only had the Integrity so far. So I got that sampler pack so I can report back to you with more personal knowledge on more of these things. And you can find all of these things at ironbeancoffee.com, America's local coffee roaster.
This episode of the Sloopcast is also brought to you by the Mad Canadian Barbecue Company. Mad Canadian has been a proud sponsor of the Sloopcast for a year now, and he is celebrating this year anniversary with a special 20% off promo code ONEYEAR20, one spelled out ONEYEAR20 at checkout for 20% off. Jared, what do you got over there? Let's just grab three random ones over there. Grab three random ones. The first one Jared has over there is the S&P Bud. S&P Bud is you're really low on that, Jared.
I have more. Don't you
right.
worry. That's empty. That's not low. That's empty. But don't you worry. I have more.
The S&P Bud is part one of the most versatile seasonings that the Mad Canadian has. Goes great on any of your meats that you're wanting to grill. What else do you got over there, Jared? You have the Mad Hatter. I mentioned the Mad Hatter at the top of the show here, but Mad Hatter is a fantastic, another fantastic seasoning that the Mad Canadian has. What do you use the Mad Hatter for?
Chicken mostly. It's a finishing salt. Yes. It has pepper blend in it, red pepper blend. And it also has lime in it, so it has that sort of chili pepper lime combination people really like.
Perfect for the fall right now.
And Kyle, why don't you go ahead and plug the Ope, because I don't feel like we talk about that one enough.
Yes,
due to my personal issues with dill, I feel like we don't talk about it enough simply because of my issues, which is not fair to the Ope. It is a smoked ranch. Do you like things that are smoked? Do you like ranch? You're from the Midwest, probably. You probably like ranch. You might want to check out the Ope.
He says here, the Ope is a wonderful smoked ranch blend destined to make your guests say, let me just squeeze by ya and get some more of that barbecue.
There you go.
All right. Check out all the seasonings over at themadcanadianbbq.com. That is themadcanadianbbq.com, where they have your butts covered.
All right, Kyle. Now let's get to know our enemy.
All right. Penn State coming into this game 0-1. 0-1 after losing a gut wrencher to Indiana in overtime.
Yeah. Hey.
Them Hoosiers.
Hey, James Franklin. James Franklin, come here, buddy. Take a knee? Like, maybe just take a knee. Maybe look your young running back right in the eye and be like, "Hey, get the first down and fall down. Don't score. Don't just sort of mention it to the huddle. You got a young, inexperienced guy in there. He's a little bit nervous. No, look the running back straight in the face and say, "Hey, young running back, don't score." And by the way, when you do end up scoring James Franklin, because of course that's what happened. When you do end up scoring James Franklin, maybe go for 2. Like, why go up 8 when you can go up 9? Like, why you could have made it a 2-score game, James Franklin.
I don't know. There's a lot of questioning. There's a lot of questions with how he coaches, but either way, Penn State coming into this game, they racked up almost 500 yards against Indiana, and they led up, which is probably the staggering thing here. They led up only 211 yards, but still lost that game. And I'd say, what was it, 80 or 75 of those yards came on that last drive.
Yeah, Michael Penix, who we'll talk more about in the future, he is the Indiana quarterback, sort of went from chump to champ. He's a runner. He's not a thrower. He's a runner. That's who he is. Yeah. Until that last drive where all of a sudden he was a passer. Mm-hmm. And it's just sort of one of those things where you get into a 2-minute drill and the quarterback catches his rhythm. And college football, sometimes that's impossible to stop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Defensively, like Nittany Lions are, again, Indiana for who they are. Penn State only let up 170 yards passing and 41 rushing.
Yeah. Meanwhile, they got right at 250 rushing and almost 250 passing. Penn State in many ways won this game. It's just not reflected on the scoreboard.
Nope. This is just one of those odd things like, oh yeah, Penn State had a lot, like well over doubling the yardage. They well, they didn't take care of the ball, but a lot of the other stats that you look at, you just look at the stats like, oh yeah, Penn State won this game. Looked like they would have won by a couple of scores. Nope, not the case here. Sean Clifford.
And by the way, a lot of the times when you see something like this, you expect to like look at the turnovers and see some sort of huge turnover margin, which was not the case. Penn State did lose in turnover margin, but only by 1. They had 3 turnovers. Indiana had 2. Now, situationally, Penn State's turnovers hurt a lot more.
Yeah. And there's a point in the time here. It says here when there was a point here. Yeah. After Penn State scored the touchdown, Penn State had a 98% chance probability to win the game.
Yeah.
Against Indiana.
They had a 2-to-1 time of possession ratio. They had 11 more first downs. They won this game everywhere but the scoreboard, which basically to me points at the coach.
Yes, absolutely. Sean Clifford had a good game overall. 238 yards, three touchdowns. Statistically, yeah. 3 touchdowns, ran for well over 100 yards, and scored another touchdown there too.
When I talk about Penn State's turnovers being more costly than Indiana's turnovers, those mostly Clifford's fault. If me saying, hey, when you have a game like that, a lot of the times it's the coach's fault. Well, it also may have been the quarterback's fault here. Ultimately, college football's, like I've said before, if all else is even, look at the quarterbacks. Penix was the better quarterback in this game. Mm-hmm. And that does not show in the stat sheet, but watching the game, one of the quarterbacks came in true at the end and one of them didn't. Penix, I think, was the difference maker in that football game.
Yep. Nope. Absolutely. Running back Devin Ford, their young running back there, 20 rushes for 69 yards.
Nice.
Okay. Very similar to how you look at like Ohio State's running backs, where it's like, oh, they got a decent amount of carries, but not really enough yards there from the running backs.
He's their 3rd running back. It should be noted.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We have 1 opt-out. We have Noah Cain out for the year with a knee injury. This is if Ohio State all of a sudden had to start playing Steel Chambers. And Ohio State's Ohio State, so Steel Chambers, I'd probably rather have him in the game than I would Devin Ford. But Penn State also gets really good running backs, so don't take this as like, Devin Ford sucks, and he's bad because he's the 3rd running back. It's not true. Penn State recruits good running backs. I mean, like I said, Ohio State wanted Noah Cain. Ohio State lost that recruiting battle. Mm-hmm. Point being is that Penn State gets good running backs. Don't sleep on Devin Ford simply because he's the 3rd running back.
Yep. Probably their most talented player on that offense there, tight end Pat Freiermuth. He had 7 receptions, led the team with 7 receptions, 60 yards and a touchdown for that game.
Yeah, Dotson's their leading receiver, or was in that last game anyway. 4 receptions, nearly 100 yards and a touchdown. The defense is maybe a little bit more interesting. I really just don't, as far as their offense is concerned, I really just don't see Penn State being anything special. Clifford's nothing special. Ford's a nice running back, but he's realistically just not ready yet.
I'm just worried about and we've said that, and I know we've said this in past Penn State games here, where it's like, I don't just trust this quarterback here, and they end up being able to run all over Ohio State, getting key like 3rd downs or long plays to extend these Penn State drives. And look at last year too. Ohio State was running away with it last year, and then all of a sudden back-to-back turnovers and resulted to back-to-back scores from Penn State, and they were right back in it again.
Well, that just comes down to don't turn the ball over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
well, if you remember too, it should have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
But Fields fumbled it right at the goal line there. I think the next possession, interception. Next possession, another fumble. So it was just a really bad drives there in a row for Ohio State, and it just put Penn State right back into it.
Sean Clifford, Kyle talks about him being a runner, had 119 yards, averaging right at 7 yards a carry and a touchdown. So we'll see. Has Ohio State done anything to improve their ability to defend against a quarterback running the ball? We're going to find out. We're going to find out. I don't think Clifford is as athletic as either of the Nebraska quarterbacks, but that does not mean that he's bad. He's just maybe more of a physical runner than he is an athletic runner, which I think is probably a good thing for Ohio State. But their defense. Let's talk a little bit more about Penn State's defense. They're obviously missing Micah Parsons, who's an elite linebacker. Will probably go in the first round of the NFL draft. Just, again, another guy that Ohio State really wanted until they decided that they didn't for reasons. But those reasons not being talent. He's an absolute monster, but he's not in this game, so let's not talk about him anymore. But it's a huge loss for Penn State. That being said, they have an incredible pair, and we talked a little bit about them earlier when we were talking about the in the Deciphering Day section of the show. Talked a little bit about Oweh Toney, Jason Oweh. Again, Jason Oweh, a lot like Noah Cain, a lot like Micah Parsons, a guy that Ohio State really wanted. That was that 1 year that Ohio State had trouble recruiting defensive ends, in large part because of the rumor that Larry Johnson Sr. was going to retire. Mm-hmm. In large part due to his son tweeting about it. His son, the Penn State alumni, and Jason Oweh ends up at Penn State. I'm not a conspiracy theory guy, but Jason Oweh, a guy who Ohio State wanted, a guy who'd be starting at defensive end for Ohio State right now. Yes, he's that good, or he would have been that good had he been coached by Larry Johnson Sr., which he probably should have been. Anyway, but Oweh Toney, Jason Oweh, both incredibly talented. We talked a little bit about how the pass protection for Ohio State was really good last week. But then I kind of put an asterisk on it and I said, but Nebraska doesn't have any special pass rushers. Mm-hmm. Well, guess what? Ohio State's going to be playing against a pair of special pass rushers this weekend.
Yes, nope, absolutely.
More so in Oweh Toney right now. He's a little bit more experienced, has a little bit more of a track record. Oweh's a little bit newer to the field, but the measurables are there. The skill is there. Jason Oweh is a special player. You won't see Justin Fields with as much time to throw this week as we saw last week.
No, if you're looking at last year, because I took the time to watch last year's game here, just try to. I know that it's not the same Penn State as they were last year, but you can kind of get
Ohio State either.
You can get a kind of a feel for it. Before last year, the past like 2 or 3 years, it all came to 1 point for each of those games prior to last year. But last year here, and I think we're going to really see Ohio State struggling to run the ball again, like we did against Nebraska. You look at last year, J.K. Dobbins, 36 carries for $150, and he averaged just over 4 yards a carry. Not great from what we've seen in J.K. in other games.
By his standard.
His standard. And even Justin Fields, he had just over 3 yards a carry too.
How much was that impacted by sacks?
That's a good question. It says here.
You always have to keep in mind that a quarterback's rushing stats in college football, unlike the pros, is affected by sack numbers.
It says 3 sacks.
Does it say how many yards on those 3 sacks?
It does not say.
Okay, that's fine. Don't worry about it.
But either way, though, it says here he had 21 carries for 68 yards. So even if you take 5 yards per sack, 15 yards.
Sure.
It's still a hello, Apollo.
Nope.
It's still
that's the girl.
Oh, gee. It's still average as a team 61 carries and under 4 yards a carry. All I'm saying is that they're going to be fighting for every yard against here. As you even said, their defensive line there with Shaka and Oweh, it's going to be tough for them to establish a running game here, and they have to be able to do that in this game also.
Absolutely. Yeah, they're returning redshirt senior Antonio Shelton at defensive tackle, junior. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, so I'm not going to try. But yeah, this is Penn State. I know we just saw them lose to Indiana. I know our confidence is high.
But they only let up 200 yards.
Yes. This is a very good defense, and I have a lot of respect for them. Don't expect this to be a game that Ohio State has 30 points at halftime. Just get that. Don't expect this to be a game in which Ohio State doesn't punt in the first half. Just get that out of your head. When I say lower your expectations, I don't mean lower them to a bad place. I mean lower them to a realistic place. This is a very good Penn State team. Yes, they just lost to Indiana. We went over statistically how they still were the better team than Indiana in many ways, but still ended up losing the game.
Mm-hmm.
And quite frankly, I think we've seen Ohio State be on an end of that in the past as well, where Ohio State they should have lost. Ohio State a couple years ago should have lost that game, but then came back and won it. But they got their doors kicked in early in the game. That was 2 years ago, right, Kyle?
That was 2 years ago. Yep. And you even look at the stats there. Penn State should have won. You look at the stats there, and Penn State should have won that game there. All right, Jared.
That being said, where was that game?
That was at Penn State.
During a
whiteout.
What's not happening this week?
A whiteout.
Yeah. It's a huge thing that we're all mentioning but not really talking about. No whiteout. And that's just huge for Ohio State. It really is. James Franklin's underplaying it. Ryan Day's underplaying it. Everyone's like, oh, it's a thing, but it's not a big thing. And Justin Fields is downplaying it. Everyone's downplaying it. It's a big deal.
Yep.
It is one of the most intense environments in all of sports.
Yes. All right, Jared. Who do you have here? Do you have Ohio State covering, or do you have Penn State to cover or upset Ohio State?
Not an upset. Ohio State wins this game, and they cover.
Okay.
Everything I just said, I think Ohio State, their offense anyway, is clicking at an elite level. Justin Fields is unstoppable. These wide receivers are unstoppable. I believe Olave plays. Ohio State 42, Penn State 17.
All right. I have Ohio State
might be more like 38. If Ohio State crosses the 40 threshold, they'll win. I think if Ohio State crosses the 30 threshold, they'll win, because I really just don't like Penn State's offense that much.
I don't either. I have Ohio State covering too. I have them scoring 35 to, I'm trying to do some math in my head, to 17. 35 to 17.
So you're just one less touchdown than me.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I have 52 points for the total here. You have 59. All right. Brawley says here, Clifford looked absolutely horrible last week, and Penn State lost in heartbreaking fashion. Too bad they didn't have the refs from last year's Fiesta Bowl to overturn that overtime touchdown by Indiana. Whiteout is a non-factor, and the Bucks want that natty. Bucks to cover. He has 42-24, which is a cover, and giving him 66 points for that game.
That's
all right, Jared. We are at an hour here, so let's go through these Ask Sloopcast questions here.
All right. We have another episode of Austin's Over and Under.
He didn't send us a
Oh yeah, I actually did get something from Stuart, who sends us the name game. He said it just wasn't worth doing this week.
Okay. All right. Austin formation. All right, here we go. Quickly, over under. He says upheld targeting calls is 1.5.
So upheld. I'm gonna go under.
I'm gonna go under as well. Amount of times JSN's catch by the commentators is 2.5.
Amount of mentions. 2.5 feels like a lot.
It seems like a lot.
I'll go under.
I'll go under as well. Amount of Ohio State pass catchers with 3 receptions or more. He has 4.5 players with 3 or more receptions.
That's way too many. Under.
Yep, under. I would say 4 is probably the right number, so I'll go under.
Really? I would put the over under at 2.5 personally.
Okay.
Because like Olave absolutely will, and Wilson absolutely will, but then there's like 4 or 5 people who might. but I think Wilson will end up with like 6 or 7, and Olave will end up with 6 or 7, and then there's just not that many more left over.
All right. Let's see. Ohio State turnovers, 1.5.
I hope it's under.
Yeah, it's got to be under here.
I think it'll be under. I think 1.
Let's see. The 3 running backs, Sermon, Teague, Chambers, combined of 149.5 points. So do they get 150 or not?
Yeah. You meant to say yards.
Yards, yes.
Yes. He says for note they had 128 last week. I'm going to go under.
I'm going to go under as well.
This is a significantly better defense especially defensive line, than they played last week. There's no reason to think that they're going to outpace what they did last week.
Yeah. Tight end touchdowns, 1.5.
Under.
Austin, this should have been a half.
Yeah. Yeah. Watch. What? Okay. Now Ruckert's going to have a great game just because we said that, but I'm going to go under.
All right. Wilson and Olave combined yardage, 174.5 yards. They had 233 last week. And a lot of this is going to come down to if Olave plays or not.
I think that's part of the equation.
Yeah. If Olave plays, over, because he says combined yardage, which includes returns. So I'm going to go over.
No. He's saying combined reception. He didn't say it, but he means combined reception yardage.
I'll still go over.
Yeah, only because I believe
it's playing.
See, but you're not allowed to say if Olave plays. That's part of the bet.
Right.
I'm still going to say over because I believe Olave plays.
All right. Penn State 3 and outs. He has at 3.5.
I'm not sure in what direction he means this. Does he mean their defense 3 and out or their offense 3 and out? So let's answer both.
Offense. I'm going to go with offense.
Let's answer both.
Okay. Offense 3 and outs. I'm going to go with
over under 3.5. I'm going to go over for their offense.
Right. Defensively under.
I think it's a great number, but under.
Yes. I think it's right at 3 there.
Yeah. Ohio State's going to have a 3 and out or 2 this game. I want to set everyone's expectations. I think we kind of said, Nebraska last week, more so than we should have. And this is going to be a tough game for a while. I think Ohio State makes it look good in the fourth quarter. I think is why, my final score prediction was 42-17. It'll probably be 28-17 and we're sweating it a bit until like the fourth quarter where the depth chart takes over and Ohio State starts scoring points. Much like what we saw against Nebraska.
Yep. All right. Let's see. We have next question here.
Let's do Cooper.
All right.
Cincy or if Cincy or BYU go undefeated and don't make the playoffs this year, what will it take to get a non-Power 5 team in besides a playoff expansion?
Yeah, it won't.
Yeah, especially if Oklahoma State falls apart, which I don't think Oklahoma State can sustain. I don't see anyone from the Pac-12 getting involved. So, like, you have a Big Ten champion, an SEC champion, and then Clemson. And then there's a fourth spot.
Yep.
And
I mean, if Cincinnati or BYU goes undefeated, none of them gets in. It will never happen unless there's an expansion. Period.
Yeah, and I believe if there's an expansion, then they'll write something in to auto-place a group of 5 team because they don't want to get sued again, like what happened with the BCS.
Mm-hmm. All right. Next question here. Duncan asks, how long is too long for the podcast, and why is the answer 3 hours?
Duncan, we appreciate you. We understand that you Sloopcats, those of you who support us in Patreon and those of you who are active in our Discord we're always talking to him and he's always talking to us. We appreciate that you would want as much content as possible to put out, which is why I think we're going to start doing a Patreon only show here before too long, Kyle. You and I need to talk about that off mic. I think we're going to start doing a bonus show at some point because we know that you guys want to hear, but we also need to keep the people who we're just one of the there's a lot of people. We're just like one of the Ohio State podcasts they listen to. We know that we're your favorite and we appreciate you for that. But for a lot of people, we're one of like 5 or 6 Buckeye podcasts they listen to. And if we all of a sudden start doing 2-hour episodes, we're going to lose those people.
Yep.
So that's why I'm kind of thinking we start doing maybe like a little bonus show for the Patreon folk.
Yep. All right. At ZSpike68 on Twitter. Are you expecting Penn State to go heavy with a dose of zone coverage, since man coverage versus our wide receivers and leaving Fields to run free is a recipe for failure? And if so, does that mean the tight ends get more involved down the seams? Yeah, Penn State definitely likes to do more zone against Ohio State here, mainly because of wanting to make sure that they cover Fields. And they did a really good job last year doing that. So I do anticipate a heavy dose of zone coverage.
As do I. And I think a lot of that has to do with, we didn't talk a lot about in Know Your Enemy. We didn't talk nearly enough about the corners for Penn State. And they have good defensive backs. I'm not going to say they don't. Lamont Wade's a really good safety. They have Joey Porter's son starting at cornerback for them this year. He showed really good stuff in week 1 against Indiana. We talked a lot about Penn State's defensive line during Know Your Enemy, probably not enough about their defensive backs. They have good defensive backs, don't get me wrong, but they can't hang with Ohio State's wide receivers.
Yeah,
not yet. Joey Porter Jr., I think he's a redshirt freshman, young guy, and he'll get there. He's not there yet. And they're going to have to go zone, because I just think going man-to-man is not just a disaster from letting Fields run around standpoint, but also because their guys are going to get torched standpoint. Especially if you start bringing in 3 and 4 wide receiver sets, and you start really watering down their secondary, and all of a sudden you have Fleming and JSN and Mookie Cooper and G. Scott. All of a sudden, you know what I mean? The depth is Jamison Williams, too insane at Ohio State wide receiver to all of a sudden say, you know what, we're just going to start going one-on-ones. That's a recipe for disaster.
Yep. All right, last couple more questions here. We got to really move.
Yeah, sorry.
How many games does Schiano have to win in the Big Ten to win the Big Coach of the Year?
He's done it, right?
3.
I think he's already got it. Schiano's Coach of the Year.
Yes. Dinger.
Because I think they're going to beat Maryland, right? So I'm just giving them that one. I think 2. got Michigan State.
Maybe 3 in their week 9 there.
He wins it with 2. He seals it with 3.
Yes. All right. Dinger says, what's your over under on how many boneheaded clock management mistakes Franklin makes? Over under is 2.5.
It's 2.5. I'm going over. 3.5. I'll go under. Okay. So, because I think the number is 3.
Okay. All right. Last question. Stewart _E for US Vet.
Another Sloopcat.
Based on the first game to second game jump that often happens, which position group do you feel will be most improved versus Penn State?
I like the offensive line. This is a good offensive line. They underperformed in week 1. That being said, this is a really good offensive line. And let's say they have the exact same quality game from production standpoint that they had last week. That's an improvement because this is a much better defensive line. So if they go out into this game and if they look the same, then that's an improvement. And that's kind of what I'm expecting.
Yep. All right. Who has the first takeaway in this game, the secondary or the front 7? I'm going to go with the secondary based on what I've seen against Indiana.
Clifford could also get strip sacked.
Yeah.
But no, you're right.
I think he's more likely to throw a pick first, though.
Yeah, you're probably right.
All right. That doesn't mean that the secondary couldn't get the stripped fumble.
That doesn't mean the linebacker can't get the interception, Kyle.
That's true, too. All right. With Franklin being in the hot seat in 2016.
No, he's not. Oh, in 2016. Sorry.
16. What would it take to finally send him packing?
That's his job.
It is, yes.
Are there people within the state of Pennsylvania who'd like to see him gone? Yes. Are some of those people racially motivated? Yes, they are. That being said, I really just don't think that Penn State can do better. Sorry. They're better. They're in many ways they're Michigan. And in many ways they're Michigan. They're better than Michigan because Franklin's better than Harbaugh. But if you all of a sudden fire who is essentially your Lloyd Carr, that's what, Kyle, what do you think? Franklin equals Lloyd Carr? Yeah, you can fire him if you want to. But what's waiting for you on the other side of that?
At least Lloyd Carr won big games.
I mean Lloyd Carr towards the end of his career, not Lloyd. Lloyd Carr won a share of a national title. I'm not disrespecting Lloyd Carr by any means. By the way, Michigan fans, there's none of you are listening, but come here, Michigan fans. I need to talk to you guys real quick. What is your deal with Bo Schembechler? He is maybe your 3rd best coach. Maybe. I would take Yost, and I would take Lloyd Carr before I took Schembechler. What is your deal with Schembechler? I think it's just because he coached against Woody Hayes. Once again, you're defining yourselves based on us. Whenever you celebrate Bo Schembechler, all you're really doing is honoring Woody Hayes. That's all you're doing.
Yep.
That's all you're doing. What's your deal with Bo Schembechler? He didn't do anything. All right. That's enough.
All right. That is all the questions here, Jared.
All right. You know what? Let's end it on that little bit of Bo Schembechler hate. It's not even hate. It's just rational. I don't get your Bo Schembechler love. Sorry. Anyway. That's the end of today's show. I'd like to really encourage everyone to check out our Patreon. By the way, a lot of our posts at patreon.thesloopcast.com, a lot of our posts there are public, by the way. There are things that are behind the paywall that you won't see, but you can also go see a lot of our stuff that's in front of the paywall. So you can absolutely go check out our Patreon page. You can see our game posters there. You can get links to our YouTube videos there. So there's stuff there for you to see outside of the stuff that's behind the paywall. What you get primarily behind the paywall are the early access to the podcast episodes and, maybe a couple other things here or there. Soon the bonus episodes, which again is a thing we will start doing at some point. I just don't know when that some point is. But I think, and I had a conversation with everyone in the Discord this week, just saying like, how do you guys feel about being patrons? And I got a lot of positive feedback, and I appreciate all of that. And the response back I got from a lot of them, especially those of the people who are in the $3 tier, which if you guys want to give us more money, that's great. But realistically, you're going to be perfectly happy at that $3 tier because that gets you in the Discord. And according to everyone there, the Discord and the community we have in the Discord is something that they all really enjoy. And I think it's a thing that a lot of people would enjoy if they wanted to be a part of it. And like I said, it's $3 a month. You get early access to episodes. And like I said, at some point we're going to start doing a bonus episode. And the Discord is not just like a fan page where people who like the podcast, like Kyle and I are active in there. So if you ever just wanted to ask us questions or talk to us or whatever else, we're active members in that Discord. It's not just a thing that we set up and walked away so we could have some weird Patreon benefit. We show you early access to the game posters. We talk to the people in our Discord about what they want to see out of the show. They help direct the direction of the show. So I think the Discord is a thing. And if you don't know, a Discord is just like a private chat server. That's all it is. It's a private chat server. So what's a Discord? I don't know. It's just a private place you can go and chat with people. That's all it is. So I just want to push that. I think a lot of people would find that $3 a month, which again, also gets you early access to episodes. And if we start doing bonus episodes, we'll also get you access to bonus episodes, is well worth your money. And just, I think it's a thing that's worth checking out. And if you don't like it, you can just cancel it. That's it. Like you're not signed up for 6 months or a year. You just cancel it. That's it. If you, something, so give it a try, and it's the price of a candy bar. That's all. I'm just asking you nicely. Come give it a try. I think you'll really like it. Other than that, we have merchandise. This is the Circle logo t-shirt, and Kyle's wearing our classic We've Got Barbecue t-shirt. Some merchandise. We also have the 7071 store. You can go to thesloopcast.com, which is just a landing page that will show you the links to all of our other stuff. So if you want to check out the Patreon, if you want to check out the merch stores, whether it be the Sloopcast one or the 7071 store, you can find all of that at thesloopcast.com. And that also will take you to our YouTube page. It'll link you to our sponsors. It'll link you to a bunch of stuff. Check that out. All right, Kyle, do you have anything in Kyle's Corner?
No, not really. No, we're way over. Just gonna say good luck to my hometown, Columbus Grove, taking on Archbold this Saturday night.
There you go. Everyone support those Columbus Grove Bulldogs. If your Ohio high school team is no longer in the playoff, go ahead and support those Columbus Grove Bulldogs just for Kyle.
Yes, they run a similar offense as your Buckeyes this year.
Surprisingly,
as being that
small. Division 6, right?
Division 6, yeah.
Yeah. So everyone go check out. Yeah, just go check out some high school team. Everyone do that. All right, tonight's ending music will be from an Ohio-based, a Columbus-based, as a matter of fact. I'll say a math rock band. They're called Of Two Minds, and you can check out. I'll link their Bandcamp page in the show notes, and I'll link to the song, whatever song of theirs I end up choosing. I'll also link that down in the show notes. And with all of that being said, I'd like to encourage everyone to drink local beer and coffee, listen to local music, and of course, support your local podcasters. Once again, this is Of Two Minds. What's up, YouTube?
Yo.
Sincerely, you guys, like, kind of want to... I know I talk a lot about the Patreon stuff. We're really trying to upgrade our stuff. We want to do more video stuff. We want to... So we're really trying to get some people into the Patreon. Like I said, it's $3 a month. It's a candy bar. And like I said, if you get into the Discord or whatever else and it's just not for you, cancel.
Yep.
Just cancel. There's no... You're out $3. give it a try. That's all I ask. I know one of the things that some of the existing people in the Discord had mentioned, like, hey, why don't you open it up for a weekend? Just let whoever in so they can come and they can see it. But I think my fear with doing something like that is if a big influx of people come in, then all of a sudden it's not our community anymore. And it's not this thing that our existing people are creating in the Discord. It's something different because you have this huge influx of people who are only in there for a weekend. Not that I think the influx would be all that huge, but just it's something to check out. It's something to consider. Even if none of that interests you and you maybe just want to help us out and like I said, throw us $3 a month, then Patreon, you can either just Google Patreon and Sloopcast or go to patreon.sloopcast. Nope. Patreon.thesloopcast.com. And like I said, there's always the merch stores as well, if you want a tangible thing in return. All right, let's rejoin our audio-only listeners. Kyle, do you want to go first again? Or do you want me to go first?
I'll go.
Okay. Whenever you're ready.
All right, thank you. And this episode is brought to you by the Mad Canadian Barbecue Company. Mad Canadian Barbecue Company, as we've mentioned numerous of times, they have 14 great seasonings to offer, such as one of my favorites, the Sonoran Heat, the Savory, Discord, and the Old Fashioned. You can check out all of those great seasonings over at the madcanadianbbq.com. That is the madcanadianbbq.com. The promo code 1, spelled out ONE, year 20 at checkout for 20% off for the rest of this month, or Sloopcast 10 after October. If you have any questions at all, feel free to hit up the Mad Canadian on any of his social medias, on Facebook, on Twitter. He'll answer any questions that you may have, or
in our Discord.
Or our Discord too. And he'll let you know where he's at this weekend with the Mad Canadian food truck. The Mad Canadian Barbecue Company has your butt covered.
This episode of the Sloopcast also brought to you by ironbeancoffee.com and Apollo. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Apollo.
YouTube listeners, this is Apollo. He doesn't understand personal space. Who is the Iron Bean Coffee Company? They're a world-class hand-roasted micro-batch coffee brewer. They fresh roast your order. They do it right out of Perrysburg, Ohio, which, if you don't know, is just outside of Toledo. Like I said, they are a small batch roaster. They roast to order. They don't roast your beans until you order them. I think, like, you hear a term roast to order. Like, they legitimately don't even roast the beans until you buy them. That's how fresh you're getting it. You can, for many of them, you can get it whole bean or freshly ground. Again, you know it's ground freshly too, because it wasn't even roasted before you ordered it. Like, they are veteran owned. So you're supporting veterans with every bag of coffee. And does all of that end up costing you a bit more? The roast to order, the hand roasted, the fact that it's organic, the fact that it's single sourced, the fact that it's benefiting veterans, the fact that it's USDA organic and fair trade and all that stuff. Yeah, it does. But you get free shipping over 50%, or excuse me, free shipping over $50. If you're near Toledo, you can order it on the site and pick it up in person. And like I said, it's just really good. Like, when it comes down to it, it's just really, really good. You have the Integrity Roast, which is their flagship dark roast. They have the Rocco, and they say in the Rocco that there's something special and unique about an Ethiopian natural when it's at its best. For those who enjoy coffees that insist on being noticed, that's the Rocco. And you can get that one in either a medium or a dark roast. They have an amazing selection. They have the unicorn, and you don't even know what the unicorn's going to be. Like, it's something out of their R&D. I just actually ordered a unicorn bag myself. We'll see what it is. It could be flavored. It could be not flavored. It could be a medium roast. It could be a dark. Who knows? It's an adventure. We'll find out. All sorts of cool stuff over at ironbeancoffee.com. Once again, that is ironbeancoffee.com, America's local coffee roaster. YouTube, checking in with you one more time. We're throwing some stuff. I think over here on my face, we'll have the playlist for this season. We'll have a season 6 playlist here. And over on Kyle's face, I think I'm going to put the the subscribe button. So depending upon if you're listening to this on the Sloopcast YouTube channel, then you can subscribe to Sloopcast over there on Kyle's face. Or if you're listening to this on the Buckeye Scoop YouTube channel, then you can subscribe to the Buckeye Scoop over there on Kyle's face. We don't care which one you subscribe to or where you listen. Actually, they actually have ads. So we actually make money if you listen over there. Not that it's much, but we do. But wherever you want to listen, we don't care. Season 6 here. And over there on Kyle's face, you can subscribe to the channel. So be sure to do that. Peace out, YouTube.